No,
streaming audience?
no, that was me. So I'm in what we call the office, formerly the parlor,
Uh-huh.
and my wife Kimberly came and took the baby because, as you two know, the baby was trying to participate.
Rambunctious.
And I was just thinking, there's locks, as I think I've covered on the outside of the two doors. You got the sliding doors, and they have a little latch lock, and then the other door has a latch lock. But these locks are both on the outside, which I think there's got to be a great story on that. But just like in those science fiction movies, I think maybe the one with the kaiju, Pacific Rim, when they get all suited up, there's always the support staff with like the power drills, like the power screwdrivers that screw on the bolts of their uniform. And I feel like that's what's happened here is, like from the outside, the support staff has bolted me in to the room here, ready for
I was thinking
podcasting.
you were just going to say that you did a little swaddle, but your baby's probably too old to be swaddled. That's what I was deducing from her age. Or I don't know, maybe you're pro swaddle or anti swaddle. I don't know where the literature is on these days.
The swaddling was great. That was good stuff. I wish that worked. It might work. It might work in the whole community. I mean, all of humanity, all ages.
Just a good swaddle.
Yeah.
Those weighted blankets are a swaddle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting there, right?
A little bit. Not as good as a real swaddle, but yes.
I like your thinking. Huh. Okay.
I know. Where do you come down on weighted blankets? I tried one. It was heavy, and I didn't really like it.
I use mine. I have one for when I'm cold.
Yeah, so, I guess that's true. It's a good, I'm really, really cold. I need to.
Yeah, I've been using it in Sydney, but I'm in Austin, so I don't need it here. Well, and I'm traveling. I don't, I'm going to carry a 30 pound blanket in my suitcase.
Precious luggage. It's like,
the luggage
30
is
pound.
precious. I brought my largest suitcase, and it's going back pretty full.
Full with a bike in it. That's what I'm.
No, the bike I had to have.
Rumors of the internet is you're packing a bike in the suitcase.
Yeah, I am bringing the bike, and the chair is not going to make it. So
all right, just drop that off at my house. I'll take care of it.
No, I think I might have sold it. So
you sold it. So you mean
the chair?
You didn't sell it. You didn't sell it unknowingly. You just you think someone.
No. I think I might have somebody who's going
Facebook
to buy
market it. What'd you do? Craigslist? Friend of a friend?
Former coworker. I posted in in Austin Slack that I hang out in, and I said, hey, Delta wants $275 for my chair. Make me a better offer, and somebody did, so I sold it.
Nice, good job, well done.
Yeah. Wait! But a better offer would be zero because you would you would not be paying.
The floor is. Whatever.
The floor is leave it at your parents, right?
Leave it in my storage. I can go back to my storage unit.
But then it really is costing you money on the storage.
Yeah, because that's out in the boonies. So I was kind of like.
Did you get rid of the storage locker this time?
No.
Oh,
but
Matt, come on. It's time to let go.
It's a 10 by 20. I can't get rid of that.
It's time to let go.
I'm ready to let go, but it's not my stuff. So next time I'm in Austin with the family, there will be a purging, and maybe we go from a 10 by 20 to a 10 by 10. Maybe we go to a 0 by 0.
All right, this is good after show. I want to get. Well, I guess we are streaming. So we got all that.
Did you add a marker, Brandon? So you can.
I did it, but now I need to. Now I'm like, this is good. This is good.
348 live.
I was confused myself. Are we recording? We're recording. Yeah, so I got it.
If I remember you, we have 5 recordings going on.
We have 2, mostly done by me. 3. One by the internet, 2 by me, 0 by the rest of the hosts. just so if anyone's keeping score at home, that's 2-0 2 Brandon, 1 internet, 0 Cote, 0 Matt. That's
I think it's actually a tie. 2 Cote Matt, 0 Brandon.
I'm so confused by that, but okay.
We're winning by not recording.
Oh,
is that like drugs? You win by not playing.
Oh, or war games.
Oh, is that how it goes?
Yeah, the only way to win is not to play.
The only way to win.
Wait, but then we'd have to just shut down the podcast. So maybe not.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop.
Shall we play a game?
All right, we ready? You guys good with these topics?
Yeah.
It looks great.
Has anyone looked at any of them? Matt, I kind of put you there lead off. I don't know. You're at a conference. You're in Austin. I just feel like you got stuff to say. I don't know if that's a good cold open or if that's just a topic to itself. I figured
I got something. We'll get into it. This sounds
all right.
good.
So no ads. You can go all the way through.
No ads.
We'll see. We'll see if it happens. But anyway,
sounds good. Okay.
You might still want to edit us.
No, trust me. Trust me.
All right. Well, I was thinking this morning, the phrase and what the phrase points to. I don't know if it's a word or a phrase, but the phrase word, buzzword, is much maligned in our industry, right? People say, oh, that's just a buzzword. DevSecOps, that's a buzzword. Multi-cloud, that's a buzzword. DevOps, that's a buzzword. x86 Turbo Boost, that's a buzzword.
There's no buzz to that word.
That's kind of a retro buzzword. I don't think a lot of people know that. But okay, all right.
But I was thinking, not to be contra opinion guy, because I always find that kind of annoying. But a buzzword, it's one of the something is only a buzzword if it is not good, or if it's not being used well, right? Like cloud at some point, you could call that a buzzword, but there's actually a technology, and it's fine, it's good. And, it's that all sorts of things like that. They get to this stage where they are buzzwordy and they are misapplied, right? Like now, it's a whole other thing. Like, and this is my point, is like, it may be a buzzword, but probably the reason you're saying that is because it's being misapplied to something, right? That like, it's not really an apt description of it. So anyways, I don't know if that's like too universal, but it made me think that there must be like a buzzword maturity life cycle where like you can track the emergence of a word. At some point it becomes a buzzword, and then I don't think it follows the diffusion of innovation curve, but like
I think maybe a buzzword is like this tangent that escapes from the hype cycle, right? You've got the trough of disillusionment, and there's this tangent that just when it's arcing up, and everybody's super excited, and there's this buzzword thing that just kind of kept going, and everyone's getting disillusioned.
I think you're right.
as it tangents off into being tangent. Yeah, because the curve like nopes out and goes into the trough of disillusionment.
So I understand. Where does the buzzword end up? Like a black hole? Like where?
Well,
it just keeps going.
It comes back down. It comes back down, and I'm gonna have to get my math nerds in here. It is kind of parallel to the what do they call that long tail of happiness, or
I forget. The plateau of productivity.
Yeah. So the buzzwords are like, yeah, sure, that is a buzzword, but it's parallel to what we actually are all doing.
I think you're right that at worst, the buzzword maturity cycle is a multi-layer S curve on top of the hype cycle. It may go down and flatten out, but it's just that trajectory's up there.
We're gonna need some quants.
Yeah. It's I think and you reminded me of one of the more difficult concepts I always grappled with in calculus, which was when a line nopes. I could never figure that out. That was a hard one, but
not to be confused when a parabola yeets.
Yeah, that's right. I don't really even know what that means, but that's fine. I hear it all the time. I was thinking of that. It made me realize that you, Brandon, are in Utah, so you're not relevant to this question. But you, Matt, are at a FinDevSecOps security conference, if I remember.
Yes.
And you must be encountering so many buzzwords on a nope curve. I feel so what I wanted to get is I want to get like Matt Ray's top 3 FinDevSecOps SRE buzzwords. Like what are the ones that you're really into nowadays? And you can actually like them. You can just think they're kind of funny. You can just be like, get a load of this, like, whatever you dig.
Yeah. So I'm gonna play it safe and go with the words that are noteworthy and showing good traction, for good or bad. They haven't the curve hasn't noped out of them yet, right? So the buzzwords are still going up the curve together.
Does that mean they're on the yeet curve? Is that?
I think the yeet is I don't know. I think yeet is what happens when the curve nopes and the buzzword yeets. So you get that NY axis, the nope. The nope
I think you mean the YT axis.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm here at the Open Source Summit in North America, which is this conglomeration of like 8 or 9 co-hosted events, and then with some keynotes about how great open source is, and then the FinOps X conference was also put on by the Linux Foundation, but it's a separate ticket. And so that was my Monday, Tuesday, and Tuesday through Friday is the OSS conference. And so the FinOps conference was really, really great. Apparently they had a lot larger turnout than they expected. A lot more people signed up, so they actually had to get themselves another venue on short notice.
And more speakers?
They had like working day. That they had so many people who were requesting like hey, we want to do some work and whiteboard and that kind of fun stuff. And so I didn't go to that. I went to some training. But yeah, so FinOps. That's your word number one.
FinOps.
FinOps. It is not to be confused. It's not financial operations.
No,
it's not. It's FinDevOps. Financial DevOps, and just tying that cloud to your dollars. And at the end of the day, that's what we care about.
Tying the cloud to the dollars.
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah, so that's buzzword, number one. And
what's coming in at number 2, right after number 1?
Number 2 is number 2 is not particularly controversial. I don't think it's WASM. Well, there is a boatload of WASM at this conference, and WASM is WebAssembly, which is Cote. I know you and Brandon are familiar with our old friend the JVM, where you would compile your language to run into bytecode on this JVM. A WASM is a similar idea. You compile to the WebAssembly bytecode, and it runs on the WASM engine, right? Virtual machine, or I don't recall the correct name of it. I'm still learning, but there are 5 WASM companies here, and that's
Wait, is WASM specific to FinOps? I don't know.
No.
It's generalized, right?
FinOps. I don't think a lot of other buzzwords came out of FinOps, right?
But WASM.
They have. There was a lot of words that we in the training we spent some time like when finance says this, DevOps says that, that kind of stuff. English to finance translations, or DevOps to finance, or whatever. But mostly buzzword free, right? Those people, they can't. They've got a bunch of acronyms, P&L and that kind of fun stuff.
Well, I think you stumbled on something I feel like I should know about, because there's even a link in it about a new company starting like I'm gonna call it a WASM PaaS. So it's like, give me the because you said what you said there was all the old JVM. So yeah, sure, you could compile down the bytecode,
right?
What's the pitch for WASM? Same kind of thing. I compile it down, and what happens?
So you get this portable, write once, run everywhere, and you get this portable bytecode that runs on the WebAssembly engine.
So like old school, this would be like a jar file, like old school.
Similar, yeah.
All right.
Yep. And initially, that allowed you to compile code and run in the browser. And so if you are fans of things like Photoshop Web, the Adobe's products online, that kind of stuff, where you're like, they seem to be doing a lot in the browser, and it's because they've compiled C++ to run inside your web browser, and then some of that compute gets offloaded to your CDN, not all the way back to the mothership and the cloud, but the CDNs are willing to run some of these WASM modules for you, so you can have like edge compute happen there if it's too much for your browser, and so you end up with like these small serverless applications that some of it will run in your browser, some of it will run on the edge, and then you go all the way back to the cloud if you have something heavyweight.
Now does WASM figure out like for me where things should be running, or do I have to say run this in the CDN and run this on the server? How does that part work?
So WASM is very constrained, right? So it has a very strong security model that pretty much doesn't let anything in or out. And
boy, someone should have thought of that before.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just like you're not really worried about one browser tab, well, unless it's Facebook, one browser tab poking around in the other browser tab. Yeah, they the WASM stuff stays in its little jail, and then there are these engines that will run all this WASM bytecode for you. So you have like these.
Okay.
Looks like serverless, right? It looks like serverless, but they can't really. The WASM code itself is pretty limited in what it can do. It doesn't have access to like file systems or external network access, or they have to go back to the JVM analogy. They have to ask the JVM, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And so the JVM, the WVM, I need to learn up my technology, but the WVM can expose external network access or whatever for these little trusted applications, and then, so it has this whole security model, and it's super small and fast.
Okay,
right?
and what's the run? So the runtime, like, what is the runtime in the browser? Actually, it's not Node. It's not like a JavaScript engine. Like, what is it?
No, it's
what's running this thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's it is a virtual machine.
That's just downloaded.
Not a VMware virtual machine, but like a JVM. And
but is it just downloaded as part of the browser, the page?
Yeah,
like
it's built
I don't
into
have
the
to
browser.
install anything.
But the kicker, of course, is they've also moved it onto servers and edge devices where you've got these CDNs that might have a little bit of compute available to them, and they'll process these things for you and not run in your browser. And so you start to have server side WASM. And
so
then,
this feels like the JavaScript to Node path, or the Java jar, the applet to Java. Like it's the same. We're traversing the same thing we've been through before. Is that right?
It is, but the difference is
better, faster, cheaper, right?
Better, faster, cheaper, and a lot more language choices. So the first choice of language is Rust. So Rust, C++, Go, Ruby, even .NET. So those a lot of other languages are popping up, but it's becoming quite popular because it's a very efficient way. It's more efficient than like say Docker.
All right, you gave us an excellent overview. Like, give us the Matt Ray. Like, do we need to learn this, or should we just wait? Like,
I think it's okay to wait. I think it's okay to wait, but it needs to be on your radar because when you start thinking about like I don't know batch jobs, when I look at it, I think about it from the server side because I'm not a front end guy, but it's already super portable, supported on all the architectures. Every the runtime works everywhere. Small machines, big machines, whatever, and the compiled bytecode is cross-platform, right? So I can write it on my M1, and I can go run it on my Raspberry Pis or my Windows box, and so that's pretty good. So it's there's a lot of WASM companies, and they all have kind of different angles about it. Some of them are security.
Yeah, the one that we're talking about is launching like a PAS, basically.
Yeah,
and so better way to write it.
Right. And so their angle is they'll they'll host that engine for you, and you can let that handle network connectivity or whatever. But yeah, it's
so maybe the quick pro con of this is like
thing.
well the con is like we've been here before and we kind of know how the story ends. The pro would be like we've been here before and we've always liked the idea, we've just never kind of gotten it right. It's like the Java thing became too heavy and it didn't quite do what you wanted, and so the time is always right for something that actually can fulfill on all the promises. So maybe WASM
it's a really good fast platform, without with a better security model, and potentially more lightweight. So we'll see if it and of course you can run it on top of Kubernetes, but that there was that Kubernetes, it's a buzzword. That is still the hotness. There were a lot of booths trying to do Kubernetes. I don't know how a lot of them make money, but just like Cote's always saying, I thought it already did that.
Well, I thought you were at an open source conference, though. So why were there commercial companies? You're not supposed to have vendor pitches.
Oh, sure you are. I mean,
right?
the talks.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, the talks are open source.
Creative Commons used by attribution, CYCANAD.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it is an open source conference, but most of the WASM, a lot of stuff is being run as passes or services companies. But
I see.
the vendors, it's an eclectic mix of vendors because, like I said, it's like 8 or 9 conferences under one umbrella. So there's there's a whole lot of embedded stuff, and it's fun to go and talk to those folks and sit in their sessions. But they don't really care about your Kubernetes costs.
No. And be like, why is my thermostat control so wonky? What's up with that?
Or and I'll be like, Amazon wants 37 cents, please.
Or the one that I don't have this problem now, but we used to have a sprinkler system back in Texas, and it was automated. But I probably even talked about this years ago, but it was one of those systems that has like a wheel and a button in the screen. And I'm whenever I encounter that thing, I'm just like, whoever thought this was a good idea, right? And like, maybe like in 1943 when it was just like, hey, look, Ma, I've got like a LED, a thing. Like, but like nowadays,
all right, wait a minute, I want to stop.
I feel like you could do anything that would be much better.
Very specific question for your haircut, because I've lived this. It's like I've had some work done on sprinklers various, and the person that came over that did it like knew the system inside and out, knew that wheel perfectly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And my mind was like, man, I really feel like this needs like a little Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, mobile interface, right? But then I was like, like, do you think, like, if you're the product manager for that, you're like, should we open that can of worms? Because then, of course, you have all the connectivity issues, and like, it seems like the installers are very favorable of like, I know that's digital behind the scenes, but it's kind of comes across as very mechanical, right? It's like, there's this thing. So I don't know, like, if you were running it, if you were like, and someone came to you like, hey, we're gonna do a mobile app that connects over Wi-Fi to the, like, would it really be helpful? I don't know. I'm very torn on this question.
I feel like for us consumers, it would be helpful. Of course, for the installer who like knows how to do it in their sleep, it wouldn't be great because now they have to learn something new. So that's never good. But I mean, I think maybe the issue is that in the yard sprinkler systems, there's probably is no Elon Musk of yard sprinkler systems, and so there hasn't been that kind of evolution of what's happening there.
But there is. It would have been the Nest guy, right? Because he went from doing the iPod and the iPhone to doing Nest, and sprinklers were on the list, right? He probably had a list of like crap around your house I'm gonna fix, and then Google bought them, and it just kind of like
it probably exists. The short answer to this is like, if we looked hard enough, we could probably do it, because I have seen somebody. I saw someone install I guess like a Bluetooth wireless enabled like water shut off. So if you're like not at your house and you want to shut off the water to your house, right? You can just it makes sense, right? If you're far away, and so it's like clearly that needs to be Wi-Fi enabled. But I don't know. So clearly probably someone's done it. Garage doors are already there, right? Garage doors have everybody's got a garage door app now. So yeah, I would like to see it, because whenever you switch that thing, you're like, oh, 8. I wonder what 8 does, and you just have to go out and walk around the yard. Oh, I wonder what 7 is. Like, there's no way to know, right?
Yeah,
unless somebody wrote it down. It's just like,
it's
a 2-man job. You need to have a child for this. You're like, okay, go out in the yard and tell me if it's on and like where you are.
Oh, also speaking of the circuit breaker box, the circuit breaker box needs to have some kind of some augmented reality thing that you point your camera at it and it shows you a little picture of the room that it goes to. And
I've got a life hack for you, Cote.
Yeah.
Masking tape and a pen, and you write it down on them.
Oh, but the initial time you do it, you've got to like get a walkie-talkie and like and a child who's willing to cooperate with you. You don't want to be down at the not the basement, but you don't want to be down in the garage or like where I would be and turn it off and be like, Cormac, which room is it? And then of course she's gonna be like, or just not answer.
Is Cormac turned into a dog?
Well, no, it's just because he's so far away. It's just like,
okay.
I guess what you do now is you'd call them on the phone, but that would burn up your minutes.
But like to your point, Matt, I like the fact that the usability of your circuit panel is highly dependent upon the penmanship of the installer, the original installer. Because I find this to be both for circuit breakers, for plumbing, and for like low voltage wiring. If anyone's like, if you get somebody that's just really good penmanship when writing out, it's like better than Bluetooth. It's like perfect. And then if you get somebody that, like this, I would be in this category to be, it's like that doesn't, hard, bad handwriting to begin with, but then bad handwriting on awkward spaces. It's like, you're like, this is useless. This is just like, we're starting from the beginning.
No, this is one of the like post-employment fantasies is like, well, maybe I'll just become like a handyman, because I understand, electrical stuff but you know what? I'd already thought of that. I have a label maker. It's like, dude, label makers are awesome. They're so cheap. You just slap labels on everything. It's got a little keyboard on it.
I think this is kind of the Emacs versus visual code kind of thing, because I think initially you would start with a label maker and you'd use it, but then you'd be like, I'm so much faster if I just like put on a zip tie, like on the tape, and I can just write it down. And I'm like, and it looks really good. I think this is sort of like, I just get so much more proficient, because I think when installers that know what they're doing are involved, if you ever seen like an installer that knows how to wire up an Ethernet jack correctly, like does it all the time, they can do it like in 20 seconds. It would take me a good 5 minutes just to get the wires, like, so that you can slowly insert them into the jack. So I don't know. I think there is a little bit of expertise that comes into that.
For sure.
What I've been thinking in the background, I know, Brandon, that you always like to product manage these in a pragmatic, realistic way. And I realize what we need to do. Okay, so we're going to digitize the sprinkler system, right? The wheel thing. But we can't give up on our existing market.
Right, we got to keep the old interface. That's what I was thinking when you're talking.
But we also need to grow into the new market, right? Yeah. Like appealing to end users. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the developer set up. We're going to say like, okay, I want you to get a tablet, and you're going to make an app that connects to this. But here's the mind blowing thing. It's just going to be a picture of a big wheel that you turn with your finger. And that way the installers
look at the AR and he's just virtually turning knobs.
That way the installers are used to the interface and you can slowly change it over. But then the consumers get what they want. They wanted a digital experience. So they get a digital experience and also a familiar interface.
Well, just to like really run this whole segment into the ground here, I'll just go one final point here. Is like, so what I've seen and what I've is like, we're really going to segment the user population. Like, I think there's plumbers and, water, let's call it sprinkler system installers. Like, they are a separate cohort, because if you've seen an HVAC person come like work on your house or help you do it out, one, they're very familiar, obviously, with electrical in general, because that's what they're doing. But if you've seen somebody that knows what they're doing walk up to a Nest, they know the Nest interface better than anyone, right? I mean, it's like click, click, 3 turns, click, 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 because they are doing it all day long. So they've completely gotten trained and know how to use the Nest better than anyone. It's when you get into like the plumbing area is where that group of people is very skeptical of any type of electronics. Like I said,
well, they should be.
I guess I get it. I think maybe it is because they deal with like electronics, basically water destroying electronics all the time. But like that group of people is very much like, I don't deal with that. Like, I will do anything that you need done related to your water systems. But as soon as you show them a web interface or a mobile app, they're like, I don't work on that. So I think that group is what they need to go to the open source community, and someone needs to do some DevSecOps, some developer plumbing relations. And
I can
show them
assure
that, you know how to do this. You're super, because they know plumbing so well. It's like, you know how to do this stuff.
I can assure you that if they go to the Linux Plumbers Conference, they're going to be sorely disappointed.
All right, we'll work on that.
I think you're right. To the the plumbers of the world need to figure out how to put some internet in the toilet. Just
it's only a matter of time.
Around. Yeah. Well, speaking of putting internet in the toilet, I didn't read the extensive postmortem, but and as always, it made me excited to be recording this week because I knew y'all could tell me. It looks like Cloudflare had some problems, and it was due to a line of configuration. I think these always we don't really hear the backhoe stories anymore. Those are always the best, right? Just like, a backhoe just shut down the internet by cutting a line. But I feel like most every configuration story that comes across our eyes nowadays is basically a configuration issue. So I guess they're not using GitOps or something. Right?
Or they are, but the code review, the review. Hopefully there was a code review and they just didn't catch it. They didn't understand the implications of what they were doing. Somebody didn't just cowboy it into 19 data centers.
And do you think when there's major internet outages, one of the clever things a salesperson can say is like, it did go down, but think about how big of an effect it had, and that shows you how vital and valuable the service we provide is.
Wow. Yeah.
Love it, not eliminate. I don't know, man. I do want your take on it. After reading the postmortem, which was well written, it's like it did basically just come down to the classic. Oh, we basically put the end. We put 2 lines below the end without thinking about it. That's all it really was at the end, right? And I mean, almost anyone that's ever done any type of scripting, programming, like we've all had this where it's like, oh, the loop never gets there, or like, oh, it turns out like this code is never executed because there's something above it that returns always. And it's
right.
So I don't know. Part of me was like, I don't know. I felt very sympathetic to this. I was like, this is a mistake that like everyone has made. But I don't know. As a networking engineer, I was like, I couldn't really look at it and be like, oh, that's like a day one, error that no one should make. Or is it like, well, it just happens.
It just happens. And, Cloudflare, they were honest about it. They gave a healthy postmortem and explained how and why it happened, and chances are good this sort of thing won't happen again. They'll put some guards in place, and it happens. And
it made me think though, like, is there not a utility? I mean, again, this like
there are
knowledge of networking. That's like just something that just runs through and just can point out like, oh, these lines you've written here, they'll never be reached. Just sort of like flags. It's like
there are, but never say never. And the tools, those tools get written in response to these sorts of outages, right? So, maybe this was an edge case that wasn't picked up in whatever linting and testing tools they had in place, and you go back to your CI/CD and you make your pipeline stronger. You learn from your mistakes. That's
learning.
And this is not a mistake. This is not an accident. This is a learning opportunity.
I think I think what you're getting towards, Matt Ray, is that yes, there are tools to address these things and practices, but it's analogous to like my kids at school. It's like, well, there's this thing called a date, and there's an amount of work you have to do by that date, and that's you just do it, and so like it's just a matter of like you just know to check to make sure there's no space, or you run the linting tool, but you have to learn that you meet the date. You do the thing. It's an epiphomatic experience.
Yes.
I think that people go through. Yeah,
but I think it does reiterate though. Like I'm with you on all that, but it's like, wow, this was just basically one line above 2 other lines, and it took down quite a bit of the internet of the services. And it's like, wow, I think it's just good to be reminded like how fragile this thing is. Like if somebody was really out to like, I don't know, like systemically do harm, you're like, it's not take a lot. Like that was one config file on one provider. And of course we read about all the other hyperscalers, right? Somebody can accidentally like make a change to like one node and make a change to 50,000 and take down the internet as well. So it's just tough. It's just like, wow, that is like, of all the talk about like, keeping things up and like high performance and not making these mistakes, is like, it's still as easy now to make these mistakes as it's ever been. Maybe even easier because there's just so much involved.
Well, but when you get, your John Allspaws and the resilience engineers looking at this kind of stuff, they're like, the process is what failed, not a person. Right. So, unless someone is maliciously doing something, the way they deployed this was wrong. Whether it didn't have enough people checking it, not enough tools checking it, maybe it's the root cause is never a person. Very, very, very infrequently do you have somebody who's like, check this out, I'm going to take down 19 Cloudflare sites.
Not like it. Well, I will say this though, to give Cloudflare some love, because I was reading about this, but then I ran across some really what I think is some great marketing. I don't know if you had a chance to read this, but evidently in one of the Cloudflare offices, they have installed like, I don't know, hundreds of lava lamps.
Yeah, they've had that forever.
I don't know. It's new to me, man. I loved it. It was like, and they use this to, I guess they take a picture every whatever few milliseconds, and then they use that as, I assume, the seed for a random number generator. And I'm just like, I'm here for this. This is what I like. Just gratuitous use of random technology. And it's like, it has great photos. It's like really fun to look at. Seems completely impractical. And I love it. I'm just like, this is fantastic. So kudos to Cloudflare for having the prettiest random number seed generator that I've ever seen. And if there are others, I would like people to send them to me.
You should prefer that. You should make one of those, Matt Ray, like for your retirement project. Instead of doing being a handy person, is you can make bespoke personal random seed generators based on lava lamps or other devices. That could be your
lava
specialty.
lamp's done now. You got to move on to something better. Like you got to find something even more random, harder to predict. And they also, I failed to mention it. They call it the wall of entropy. Love the name too. I mean, I love it. Like whoever worked on this at Cloudflare, fantastic. I mean, it's visualizing computer science, fantastic. Keep it coming. Wall of entropy.
I think you could call your company like Random Seed or like something like that. Like,
yeah. Did you raise an A round, a B round? It was a random seed.
Well, then I looked on the internet, and it turns out there's a whole free service that has all types of random stuff that they're doing that you can just subscribe to. So there's no money to be made in this. Somebody's already figured it out. They have all kinds of random.
Goliath stomping out my David.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
That would be a good science project for the for the school kids, is to like make some kind of random seed generation thing.
Yeah, it's random.org. So if all the kids that are assigned that, you can just go to random.org and steal their ideas. So there you go. It's a really nice it's cool.
research they call it.
Research, exactly.
Well, it was also, it seemed like a pretty big week for Oracle Cloud. They, not too unsurprisingly, now that the Cerner thing went through, they're gonna move the Cerner stuff not to AWS, to Oracle Cloud. Do they call that OC? We're gonna move it to the OC. That would be great, and so that's gonna be fun for them, moving that over there. That would actually be. It'd be fun to see like that migration project, because that would really like help out with a bunch of multi-cloud talk.
It's the only time you're allowed to use rip and replace, when you acquire a company and you basically that company is using a competitive product, and there you're allowed to say, yeah, we're going to rip and replace it, because everywhere else you never say rip and replace.
And as I learned at the FinOps conference, that's also the sort of scenario where somebody would say, price does not matter.
Yeah, that's exactly, those two kind of go hand in hand. You're right. Like if you could say price doesn't matter, you could say rip and replace, or vice versa. Like one implies the other. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. And then also, I didn't dig too deep into this, but it looks like TikTok is moving its US user data to the Oracle Cloud. Now, I think, doesn't it already run on the Oracle Cloud? I was a little confused by this, because I remember
Zoom had done some Oracle.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was Zoom, but okay.
But did they like back off of that after they done it for after they ran out of free credits?
Yeah, I don't know.
They just came out and said they're on all the clouds. I think that's what it was. So they use everything.
But now when all the I think was it Brian who made the great joke that like now Oracle owns the they own all the data on the old people and the data on the young people about
the dancing and your health records.
Yeah, so that's great. That maybe that's what Ellison was talking about when he's going to like revolutionize the health reporting. Is that would also be cool? Maybe you could do some correlation between them. The people who appear, they need some facial recognition, and then you could be like the people who appear in these videos. Here's their medical records.
Oh, I could tell by your dancing video that you've got glaucoma.
Nice. But I think we talked about this last week, Cody. But I think it kind of occurred to me again. Is like, I think, is Oracle strategy just sort of the default? Like, hey, just take all these enterprise SaaS companies they've kind of bought over the years and just run all of that on Oracle Cloud, right? And that becomes kind of the use case, and I don't know, it kind of makes it more viable.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong internal customer, right? Like, Amazon.com is a very large customer of AWS. And so the sorts of problems they're having as, a flagship customer, they can go back and direct product to, hey, we need this. I mean, I don't know if they're doing, chargeback on that, but, they at least have a hand on product launches and things like that. And so, Cerner, various other SaaSes provided by Oracle definitely shape the OCI product roadmap.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's like, I don't know, we'll have to keep an eye on the strategy. Like, does it eventually, kind of like with AWS, does their expertise in running kind of this SaaS enterprise software at scale, does it open more doors for them going forward, like than it would, say, for somebody else that's not doing that?
It probably does, just because one of the things that I learned from my time working with some of the Oracle folks is, every SaaS they have is a first class citizen to their cloud platform. So APIs are exposed. They expect you to be integrating your SaaSes into your cloud usage,
First class
which
SaaS.
which is actually quite different than like Google, for example. I don't believe that tools like YouTube, for example, doesn't run on Google Cloud, right? It's so a lot of their Google Sheets and Docs and whatnot aren't first class Google GCP.
Right, they're like doing other stuff or
Yeah,
their own
and
stuff.
they're still running on Borg while the rest of us are running on this other cloud thing. Maybe it's another Borg or something.
Yeah,
but
I feel like IBM sort of attempted this, but I don't think they have the portfolio that Oracle has of like so many big name kind of
they
like
need some
enterprise
TikToks.
SaaS.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't know. David, I was trying to think, I talk about data sovereignty a lot with customers, but mostly they're European customers. And I was trying to think of a data sovereignty in US use case that's bigger than this. It feels like, I don't know, there must be some, but usually the US is like fine, right? Doesn't really matter where the data resides as much. Whereas other than TikTok, it seems like
government, like government based on AWS Gov,
Yeah, I always think of them as just like building their own stuff. You're right. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, but definitely
there's probably like medical record paranoia that people or I don't know. That's tough to say. If I haven't thought about that in a while. Like I don't know if Americans are very like functionally clever and intelligent about data privacy stuff. It seems like it's just more like, I don't know, does this get me what I want? Click. Like, whereas like to your point, Brandon, every time I encounter not Americans, well, mostly Europeans, it's just like, boom, they're all into this shit. They're all over it. And it's definitely a big deal.
Yeah, I definitely encountered a lot more data sovereignty stuff in APAC, and especially when you start getting into things that touch the Australian government considered them nationally I don't remember the term. It was like relevant to the health of the country. So like banking, for example, had to be in certain data centers. They weren't allowed to offshore certain things, and Microsoft took advantage of that, where there was a government private public partnership, a big data center in Canberra that a lot of the banks moved into because it was built for the government, but they got you have to put these certain things in there because they're important to us. And then I'm sure they got cut rates, and Microsoft is happy about
it. Definitely. I don't know. We'll see going forward how much data sovereignty will plays in other things. So the other topic though, Matt, I feel like you just said you signed a lease. So this is really what I want to know here is DocuSign. DocuSign has the CEO of DocuSign has officially stepped down. And I guess like a lot of companies, they're off, I don't know, some enormous amount from the pandemic high. So my thought though was like, wow, DocuSign, like I am sure there are other competitors to DocuSign and I must have used them at some point, but I can't name any of them. I feel like DocuSign is one of these like it must be like
the Kleenex of documents.
I did feel like this, and I thought to myself, I was like, wow, if they're up for a sale, it seems like the perfect tuck-in acquisition. By somebody in the Slack mentioned, I think Tim it was said, Salesforce seems like a perfect thing for Salesforce. Like
that would be
good. Contracts. I think I don't know. So maybe Matt, like as you in Australia, is there like an Australia DocuSign that you have?
Oh, absolutely. So I signed a new lease. I'm going to be moving on very short notice. It'll be exciting, but it was DocuSign.
Okay, so do we think is there? I don't know. To me, it feels like this is an easy acquisition. I want to see Salesforce buy them. I want to get it done. I feel like this doesn't even take a phone call to the investment bankers. Cote could do this on his internal biz dev corporate strategy group could take this.
Yeah, just if I think we need to do it. We need to we're just going to make a channel in the Software Defined Talk Slack, which you can join by going to softwaredefinedtalk.com/Slack, and we're going to call it Cote iBanker. And like basically that's it. That's the iBanker interface that you can come in. Now, you two, of course, will be partners and associates or whatever, but we'll just use my name for no reason.
All right. Well, Cote, when you're doing the pitch deck, I would like to add one feature. Much to kind of we talked about plumbers not embracing parts of technology. I would like DocuSign to own the parental permission slip area where like your kid is going to do something for school and you need to sign it. I would like DocuSign to make that so easy for educational users that it's just like, yeah, we just fired it off, and your mom or parent, guardian, like quickly did a DocuSign, and it's all done. You don't have to like bring the paper home, sign it, scan it, whatever, right? Like, because that's a market that's worth at least TAM of $500,000.
I think you're right. I mean, and I haven't looked. I haven't my interns haven't gotten back to me with the as is state of DocuSign, so that we can start planning things out. So maybe they do some things like this, but I feel like there's a chance for market expansion in these ancillary authorization analog spaces, right? Where you need some kind of authorization, whether it's a permission slip or whatever, and like maybe it's not an official legal document, but you still need some signature. And I think there's some expansion you could have.
I definitely have that.
Or like I've
consent to go.
I've noticed a lot of these are digital now, but you take your kids to a trampoline park.
Yep.
Yes,
and you got to sign something.
The waiver. The waiver. Yes.
The waiver. Now, so my another question, especially when I'm trying to figure out the value of DocuSign, is my question is like, what is defensible about this technology? Because I feel like as a user, when I go to use DocuSign, basically it feels like I'm just using preview and squiggling something on some lines, right? Like I don't know. I feel like maybe there was some innovation in the legal world to make this possible some time ago, but now it's just like, whatever. Apparently all you have to do is just like find a transparent image and like paste it onto a PDF. And then
I do that. Yep.
And like it seems like, and I'm thinking through it. I'm as the iBanker here, I'm not too technical, but like, I feel like maybe there's just some like trusted time stamping that they've done, or maybe they have like
audit logs, man. Audit logs. That's what you got to have.
Maybe it's like Uber, where they've gone to every single like county courthouse in the States, and they've been like, hey, you want to go get some steaks? This document's totally legit, right? And they just have kind of like made sure things
just
are
like
cool.
Uber. They went and burned down all those steakhouses and made those relationships and made it legally acceptable to use this everywhere, and now everyone else can be like, "Thanks for the legwork, fool."
Yeah. So that's my concern, is that, and they have a cash cow, but the cash cow is going to run out of milk. So here's what I'm thinking of is, now we all know that multi-face platforms are the way of the future, right? Like if you remember that, if that was the right phrase. So I think that service Gravatar, where you can associate an email address with a picture of yourself. I feel like DocuSign's future is Signatar, where like basically you can upload your signature and it is publicly accessible based on the email address that you use. So, and maybe you pay for this hosting, or maybe someone pays to access it. I think that's probably what you need to do, right? Whenever you're a multi-face platform, the signature is the product. So you have your signature there, so that now you can use it in any sort of
now you've
software.
Just stumbled into like OAuth and Okta and their territory, right? They're going to be the ones who are like, no, you're stumbling into identity.
I think you're right. This is going to have to be a.
All right, I got it. Let me mark the time. Mark the time. Roll it back to. Hold on. One second. Let me get this timestamp. What is it? It's 47, 48. Dog barking.
Come here.
Don't come here. Don't bark into the mic.
I don't know. No, see, if I'm touching the dog, she won't bark.
Oh, it got all quiet.
Okay. All right. So give me where did you start on that? You were talking.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Try to give me the whole. Go back 30 seconds before you think you need to, and give me a good pickup.
Well, it was Matt Ray talking.
Okta.
He was. Okay.
Okay. So go from there. So
Okta.
after Matt Ray says it gets you into Okta, go from there.
Yeah.
Pick up there.
Okay. All right. Now you're right, Matt Ray. I think this is going to have to be a roll up. We're gonna bring Okta into this. We're gonna bring DocuSign into it. We might, is it Mullenweg, the Matt Mullenweg of WordPress? He might have some sort of patent on Gravatar, so we might have to buy WordPress. And then that's also going to mean that we get the day one app, and also Tumblr. And so I feel like this
is quite the acquisition.
I feel like the synergies that we're gonna have here are gonna be amazing. They're gonna blow your mind.
I can't wait for Tumblr to find a new home in Salesforce.
Now that I think that would be good.
Well, I think the key thing here, Matt, is that what we really need to realize is that DocuSign is HIPAA compliant. So whatever we do, when we do the deal, that's the most important thing. That Oracle and Cerner could buy them.
I think you figured out the thing to unite it all. Everything that I just mentioned, including Tumblr, is now HIPAA compliant. That's the synergies that we're gonna achieve.
Okay, SM after show. I'll pause right after. Well, that's a good edit point. We'll pick up on another subject. I just want everybody to know, because I'll throw in the after show. Cote has been wrestling with his animal for the last 3 to 5 minutes. It's like a war between barking and can Cote keep his hand on the collar and soothe the dog simultaneously while making cohesive points.
I'm running out of hands here.
It's a rare thing. I think the dog is wearing him down. If we go 10 more minutes, Cote completely loses control. So we'll leave that as we'll make that a little after show plug for everyone. So, all right, good job, Cote. You okay? Do you need to like walk? Do you need to like walk the dog a little bit, or?
I thought you were gonna see if I need to like walk it off,
or do you need to like go walk?
Yeah,
around?
do you need to pace around the room and
I'm sure some other podcast I listened to, that one of the Merlin Mann podcasts was complaining about like who are these people who leave the house without taking keys for the house. And the people are my other family members. I'm sure Cormac went off to go do something and he didn't take keys and blah blah.
The dog still doesn't look happy.
The dog is crazy. Okay, what? So you already got. So just figured like I'll cut it.
Nose over your shoulder.
All right.
I'll cut it at like the Cerner thing, so you can. So you could like take us into a new. I don't know how long we've been. Are we wrap up?
Like
or
50 minutes? I think we're running out of things unless y'all want to talk about something.
Cote, what do you want to do? You
we'll talk about the capture thing real quick and then go into.
Okay. All right. Okay. I don't know. Do you need me and Matt to finish it off? This is the kind of streaming people come from. As Brian says, this is magic. That's the comment from the.
This is why you tune in for the live.
She's just so excited.
This is. I know the dog's usually pretty calm. I guess it's earlier. We're recording.
Yeah. There's usually nothing going on, but now there's like commotion everywhere. So it's.
Okay. All right.
Wait, I can't because I'm sealed in here. I can't do anything.
All right. Do your best to wrap it up, and we'll hopefully make it.
All right. Well, related to that, it looks like we won't have to be doing CAPTCHAs anymore on the iOS 16. I guess we're on 15 now, right? 15.5.9.7 or something. So that will be nice. I think so. Not having to do CAPTCHAs would be great. I enjoy that. But my question, and Brandon, I think you are the best one to take this, is you were once a renowned futurologist of the identity space, and are we ever gonna be passwordless? Is that gonna happen, Brandon? Are we closer? Or is
I think we are. I'm actually, I watched the Passkeys demo at the latest, and that Passkeys is the implementation of FIDO by Apple. Mm-hmm. So it looks pretty slick. I think they have really done it. When it works, it will be easier because no one has to type in any passwords, and it will mostly seem like magic behind the scenes, which is always like good and bad for users. So I think that definitely is true. And I actually thought the CAPTCHA thing was awesome too. The fact that finally someone's kind of come up with, and it looks like they're using some type of token authorization behind the scenes. It's like, oh, it'd be great to kind of offload this, like, are you a human, just to the computer, the device you're on. It's like, yeah, like you can, because I actually am awful at the CAPTCHAs. Like, I don't have the greatest eyesight, and those pictures are like super hard. Like, find the stoplights. I'm like, man, it takes me like several tries to get through it. So I do like the fact that like we are getting to the point that like, okay, get people out of the way of security. So generate these, encryption keys behind the scenes and make it, very safe for users. And then the CAPTCHA thing's a little bit new, but I like the idea of like, it's probably the same idea. Like, the device generates some type of encrypted token, give it to the website. The website can be assured that, yes, this is a human being with, in this case, a valid iCloud account and things like that. Because the more that we do that, the more that the internet is just easier to use. So, I think it is unfortunately one of those things that's like probably 5-10 years out, because it'll take a while for all the standards to get out there, people to adopt them, to get used to them. But I think we're close to like a solution. Two things that I think I'm optimistic about. One, passwords have become a problem for almost everyone. So the problem is bigger now than it's ever been. And two, it feels like these solutions are very much taking into account that it needs to be something that users can adopt pretty easily. So I'd say we're there. I feel optimistic this time.
Well, there you go. It is getting better. Passwords.
The question, Brandon, the question is, when can I get my family to use this so I don't have to get a subscription to 1Password for the whole family?
I think iOS 16. Like, I'm definitely going to see the use. Well, the part that is.
So this is gonna. So has 1Password lost their $85 billion valuation now?
I think if you're 1Password, I think there's two things. If you're sitting there, you're like, you think passwords are dead? Oh, please come right up. Like, I think 1Password has been hearing this since the day they built 1Password. They're like, yeah, like passwords are going to be built out there. So part of them, I think they can quickly be dismissive of like, yeah, everybody says this and never really happens, right? So I think that's probably valid too. And also the other part will be, well, there is kind of like a play for them around passkeys, much like Apple is going to sort of like store them for you and make it real easy. I think they'll have a version of along the lines that they kind of do with 2FA. Like, we use that collectively amongst us, right? Like, we don't actually use a second device. We just kind of don't tell anyone. We use 1Password to like generate our codes. So I think they still have a place to come. But also too, to your point, it's like, I still think it's 5 or 10 years away before you can really do it. So I probably 3 to 4 years before you can really get rid of your 1Password, for at least for us, for I think people like us. Now, in the next couple of years, if your family quickly adopts passkeys and all these sites quickly see the uptake, maybe they're just a year or two away. That's very optimistic.
Yeah.
I think what 1Password, I've got an offer for them. They should join the Signatar family. I think there's some synergies. We've got all the signatures, and what I want them to work on, I understand they're in security and passwords, is I've got this concept that I call your signature is your password. And so like I think if we can merge those two together, these password people can figure it out. Like, we might also need to buy an ePIN company, maybe that Remarkable browser. So whenever you want to log into something, people are familiar with signing for credit cards, at least in America. Like, whenever you log into a website, you have to do a signature.
Right. Well, we are. I mean, to your point, like in our, what is it called? Signatar, whatever, in our roll up here, it's like, if we get to the point that Apple's idea around here, this idea of the CAPTCHA token proving you're a human, you're just a stone's throw away then from being like, well, why don't we just make that the signature, right? Like, that we don't actually need to, if you will, put your finger on some weird looking screen and like scribble something out that you've never seen before. It's like, hey, just let the device verify you. So some good stuff happening, some reasons to be optimistic.
I think you raise a good point. We're also going to need to acquire Apple.
And we're done.
Well, speaking of acquiring Apple, do we have any bureaucracy this week, Brandon?
Just a couple things. I guess there's some people hiring cloud account executives down there your way in Melbourne, Matt, not your way this week, but normally. So if you're looking for a job in Australia, hit up the jobs channel in Slack. Looks like they're looking for some people to help adopt the cloud. Also, if anyone would like a sticker, just send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com, and I will be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world.
Well, speaking of conferences, so we did have our DevOps Loop conference yesterday, and we'll have all the videos online sometime. I got to see them, the hidden ones, and there are some good ones in there. So
some good outtakes.
Yeah, working has its privileges, I think is what people like to say. But also in that world, if you I'm going to be in New York City, so don't get a rope, next week. I think it's going to be 2 days on June 28th and 29th for our Spring One tour there. There's going to be lots of programming, Kubernetes. I have a talk. But you should check that out. If you just search around for Spring One Tour New York, I'm sure you'll find it. Or you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/ the episode number 364. Don't put the episode number in. Just go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/364 and click on a link. And I've got a special discount code. It is S1T _ SAVE 50. Now, Brandon,
Wow.
How much money do you think that saves you?
50%.
Wow, 50. That would be cool, but it's $50.
$50. Okay.
I think it basically brings
Can
your
I
ticket down to
$0
$100.
and save like 500?
I tried that. Now the discount code that I found ended in a 25, and so I just went up to 50 to see if that would work.
And it was there. Nice.
I knew our listeners needed a special treat, but y'all should come check that out. Now there's all sorts of other conferences, of course. We've got that conference at the end of July up in Wisconsin. There's some discount codes if you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/364 for that as well. There's a DevOps Day LA where Scale is going to be. Are you going to that one, Matt Ray? Wasn't Scale like your
yeah?
Your,
I mean,
your,
it's a great
your favorite
conference.
thing?
Yeah, it's definitely a great conference. Just because there's so many people there who are going to show up for it, and as a vendor, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I should go there one day. I'd probably say that every year. We have a discount code. It's just DevOps, which I think is a great discount code. Not DevOps, DevOps. Because who goes to that conference? A DevOps, I think, is what you'll have there.
Or a Linux.
Do we have any idea how much of a discount that is?
No, but it's a great discount. I'm sure it's really, really high. So don't worry about it.
So there you go. You should go register just to find out how much it is to solve the mystery. And then, of course, VMworld has been rebranded as VMware Explore. That's August 29th to September 1st. And boy, this is all just conferences that are associated with my place of work, which is very exciting. And then Spring One Platform will be in December. So check those out. And if you have any, I need to submit a bunch of calls for papers with some talks. So if anyone has ideas of good conferences for me to speak at, you should write that in our Slack, which I've already gone over how you can go there. Now with that, Matt Ray, what do you have to recommend this week?
So I'm back in Austin for this pair of conferences, and my backpack broke. The zipper that holds the laptop in, it broke, and so it does have a lifetime warranty, but we're talking 6 weeks to get it fixed and returned and repaired and all that. So I had to go buy a new backpack. On short notice, I did a little bit of research with the old wire cutter and headed down to REI. And I picked up the Patagonia 25-liter black hole, and it's a pretty solid backpack. It holds stuff. It's the advantage it has over my last backpack is it has an external water bottle holder.
I think if you ever wanted to work in marketing, Matt Ray, you have got you're set. Just like this bag holds stuff.
It doesn't break. Not broken.
I'm like, who came up with the name black hole? And then I open it up and it's a big hole. But it does have some internal pockets, but it's large and deep. But it's actually not like a large bag. That's what I kind of like. I wanted a small laptop bag, so I'm pretty happy with it. That's my pick, and then of course tacos. Given the fact that I've been in Australia, I love Australia, but not particularly known for their tacos. I've been eating tacos at least once every day. Probably going to Torchy's after this.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're saying, Matt Ray. Of course.
Of course you do. Yeah.
I don't know. I have to say though, I'm a little touch and go on Torchy's. I'm not sure. I feel like.
Well, I have to be walking distance to the hotel, and so I did Veracruz for breakfast. I did. I did another taco place yesterday. I'm running out of places I haven't done. I'm gonna have to start repeating myself, which is okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I wouldn't. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, how about yourself? Hold on. The real question with the Patagonia purchases, was it worth paying 5 times more than you would pay for a similar thing that was not called Patagonia?
It wasn't 5 times more. So it.
Well, that's the whole premise of my humorous question.
Yes.
3 times more wouldn't be as funny.
No, not 3, not 5, but I'd say it was maybe 20% more.
Whoa!
It was actually a nicer backpack than the one that was $30 cheaper. So
I see. Okay, all right.
I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, Brandon, what do you have to recommend this week?
Well, before we get to that, I feel like we need to get Black Hole Patagonia as a sponsor. Because then, Cote, didn't you recommend the duffel bag Black Hole?
Oh yeah,
a while back.
Yeah, well, the MLC I think is what I always recommend, and yeah, I like all Patagonia things. And
okay, all right. Well, Patagonia,
I think,
if you want, if Patagonia, if you want to reach a cloud specific audience to sell your bags, give us a call. We'll be happy to make that happen for you.
I feel like the intersection of computer nerds and like outdoor nerds is maybe zero. Like I think those two cultures just don't really. Maybe,
but I do think computer nerds like to talk about their personal carry devices.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
I think you can have a whole podcast just around personal carry in tech, and you would probably do really well.
I think what I was trying to say is if we're pitching this, Brandon, to Patagonia. That we are going to need to talk not to the people who are kind of like the guardians of the culture of Patagonia and like what people do with it. We're going to have to talk to just the straight up money people who are just like, I'm just here to make money.
They're not at Patagonia. They stopped.
I'm pretty sure they left.
Yeah, they're like when I check my mail at the end of the driveway, I get in my Suburban. Like, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, we'll have to cut that part, the first part of that pitch. So, okay. All right, well, we'll work on that. We have some stuff to workshop before we go to meet with Patagonia. Good. But in the meantime, if you're looking for something to watch, I started The Old Man. Just came out just I think last week. It's on FX or Hulu or, however you get that kind of streaming stuff. It's really good. It's got Jeff Bridges and John Lithgow. It's kind of a thriller. It's really good. I highly recommend. If you're sort of on the fence, not sure what your show, definitely watch the first episode. It's good. Has some good action scenes from some surprising characters. So check it out. The Old Man.
Well, I have a follow up. Last week I recommended the D&D board game, like D&D Adventure Begins or something. I forget the exact name. It was. It's a good board game, kind of entry level for kids. It says it's for age 10 and above, but I think my 8-year-old daughter did well with it. The only thing I want to add is that if you also have a 2-year-old, it's not going to work out. There's a lot of little pieces and dice.
The choke.
And so like you just gotta. This is unfortunately the situation is like the 2-year-old. If there's 2 adults, the 2-year-old is always around. You can remember that if there's 2. The 2-year-old's always there is basically how it goes. But my other recommendation, so I finally got an actual camera instead of my phone for the camera here. And I was about to purchase, I have the Sony SV1, which supposedly you can use as just plug in the USB and use as a webcam. But of course, you have to install some drivers, and then it only does it in 720p. So I was like, I got to get one of those HDMI things to plug it in so you can just go straight with it. And I was just about to buy the come over here. God damn it.
So you can start with I was just about to buy.
Yeah. I was just about to buy the Elgato Camlink 4K. And then I thought, I feel like, did I buy this and return it? And so I went to go look. I went to go look at my Amazon and my Coolblue orders and the returns. There was no returns. So then I literally looked over my left shoulder and I saw it sitting there on the bookshelf. I had already purchased it. And so I could just plug it in and use it. And so that's my recommendation is the Elgato Camlink 4K is great. I also had, I have one of these like the Elgato HDS whatever 6, but that one's too complicated and big. But that's if you're doing like gameplay and you need to pass through. But this thing is just like, I think now you can buy it for like 90 euros and it's perfect. You just plug an HDMI thing in there and boom, you got like a new camera. Like it's great. Solves a lot of problems. And you don't even need a power adapter for it. Adapter. It's good stuff. Well, speaking of, if you have decided to adapt and adopt a new listening habit, I hope it's this one, the Software Defined Talk podcast. If you want to get the show notes for this episode, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/364. When you go there, you can also see how to join our Slack community, which is great. All sorts of stuff going there. And I think there's some pictures on there, too, you can look at. I don't know, just hang out there. Reload it a lot. We'll give that fireside see if they're using Cloudflare or Linode or something. Well, hopefully you won't get stuck in a black hole. We'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let go of this dog now.
Oh, that's too funny. Let go of this dog. Well, good job, Cote. You got a lot going on that episode, man.
Yeah, it was exciting.
And it's like 82 degrees here. So hot.
Crazy.
It's a little
I don't know,
warmer in
Cote. I
Austin.
feel like you need to step up to the HDMI switcher. I don't want to rain on your parade. That's your next evolution. Now that you have the 4K, you're going to go to the next one. It's like, well, I want multiple cameras. So you'll be there soon enough.
I was thinking, at the thrift stores, you can buy all these old digital cameras. And I think they have HDMI out. So I should get some really old ones. And I could.
Well, you need to find which ones are compatible. So, like, my wife has an old SDR, and I think, I think it was like the last model that was unsupported. And I need to go and see if this CamLink one does it, because I think Canon put out software so you could you do it without having to buy external stuff. But my wife's,
there's always limitations though. Whereas with this, I think it's just a dumb signal. Like it's
just the key thing you have to look for is clean HDMI. That's what you need. That's the magic, because most everything will have HDMI out, but a lot of times they'll have like the captions and stuff. So and then there's like Matt, right? This is a perfect place for you because there's a whole community of people who have hacked the various BIOSes and
there is a complete there's an open source replacement firmware for I think for Canon.
Yeah, and I think
or Nikon. One of them has like you can go and replace the phone or the camera OS. But I'm using that camo with my Sony phone, with my old Sony.
Is it Camo from The Simpsons? Wasn't there someone named Camo in there? It was like Camo.
I think we talked about it. I don't think Matt, you probably didn't care, but they sort of Sherlock that feature a little bit.
They totally Sherlocked it with the new iPhone.
If you just have an old iPhone now, you can just use
or
your current iPhone.
Use it with your new iPhone.
Yeah,
you can use it with your new iPhone. All they need to make sure is that it supports a cable, because the wireless. I don't trust wireless.
Don't trust. Yeah, I agree.
For streaming,
wireless is going to be weird. So
I think for my novelty HDMI switching, I want a dirty HDMI, because that's the novelty that I want. It's like when people put a filter on that's like a VHS tape. Like that would be fun to have it.
Well, you have it, the Blackmagic ATM Mini. That's where you're headed, because you already have two cameras. I've seen you switch between them, right?
Oh yeah. Those are USB things, but yes,
well, that's where you want to go to next, right? Where you can have like two old cameras and then just start moving around your office.
I think probably. Let me think. If I didn't, I think I probably could hook up one. I don't know. I feel like at least 8 cameras, maybe 7.
Hey, we'll have that. You don't even need the mini now. Now you need the professional. You can have 8. And
then a camera too.
Panopticon of Cotes.
All right. Well, hey, listen, we appreciate everyone hanging on the stream today. We know it's a little bit early, but it seemed to work out. We'll probably have a flexible summer schedule, as we should say, scheduling coming up. So, any final words before we wrap up, Matt? Any final words? Eat more tacos.
Eat more tacos. Taco Deli.
Taco time.
All right, Cote?
No, nothing.
All right. Until next time, streamers. We'll see.